be the one to break it to you, but sex education of the past failed us. Because birds and bees, they don't fuck. Welcome to Birds and Bees Don't Fuck, a podcast where we learn exactly how bad our formative sex education or lack thereof really was. I'm your host, Arielle. I'm a sex educator, intimacy coordinator, and a whole lot of other things. My guest today is an actor, comedian, writer, and DJ who is sure to make those panties drop. Welcome to the show, Bri Giger. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
You are the DJ to make the panties drop. I gotta say, it's like when I listen to male DJs and they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make these panties drop and pussy this and pussy that," I'm like, no. And then I hear you spinning and you say that shit, and I was like, well, I know that's true.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh man, welcome to the show. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I don't know where you grew up. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in New York. I've been out here for I'm hitting my 10 years in September.
Hey.
Yeah, it's wild.
Happy decade in LA.
Thank you so much.
That's surreal.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
They say you become a local after 5, which I just hit 5. So, hey, I feel legit.
Nice.
What do they say at 10? Are you just like, you're never going to leave? You're stuck here forever?
Yeah, I think they say something like, oh, you're an old ass bitch and you're stuck.
Great.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm stuck. I got the hat to prove it. I'm like, okay. All right, you're in it. You're here.
I'm working up to my hat.
For sure. I'll crown you when the time comes.
Yes. Where in New York did you grow up?
Brooklyn, like Flatbush, like well, my mom lived in Bed-Stuy, but like Flatbush area.
Nice.
Yeah, kind of all over. Literally all over. I lived in Arizona, I lived in New York. But like from here, like right before I got here was New York.
Okay. So where did you wind up, where did you grow up and get your education and schooling and all like culture and shit?
Right. I love the through line. Wow. I guess I was just talking about like drug education too with a friend. Like I was like, where did you learn to do drugs at?
Yeah,
Dare taught me how to do all the drugs because I remember looking at that and being like, I want to try that.
That looks fun.
Yeah, like they're just laughing and on a couch. That looks hilarious. I
want to laugh.
Yeah, I want to laugh.
What are you trying to say? No to laughing? I want to say yes to laughing. I want to laugh all day, every day.
It was just like somebody, like it was like a cartoon, like laughing and eating and like stuff and like don't smoke weed. And I was like, I was like, okay, well, you know,
but why though?
Right. I'm like, but why? You know,
and just chill as fuck.
And then then it would say like, oh, it's a gateway drug, and then I would hear all these other drugs and stuff like that and whatnot. When all they could really be saying is like, hey, this is gonna happen one day. You're gonna fucking do drugs. Like this is the safe way to do it. But I'm trying to remember like with a friend like where we kind of were when we learned everything. I want to say I was in Arizona. My health education class. There was one class we took, and then like every once in a while there was like a workshop about or just like everyone was in this like lecture hall almost. And it was like, honestly, there was like how to wipe properly and stuff. I remember like how to like and like yeast infections and stuff like that, and like putting on condoms and whatnot, and like they went over dental dams and stuff like that. But I don't remember like the actual idea of like talking about like sex. Like I do not remember where I learned about sex. I think I honest to God remember like I had learned like on a Monday, and then like that weekend I was so interested in it that I met this boy, Damien, and Damien took my virginity, and he told me I couldn't get pregnant by standing up. So we had sex standing up.
Please call me.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you learn this lesson.
Yeah, like thank God I didn't get pregnant or anything, because I was like, cool, sure, I'm down. You know, I was like so interested. Cool. Yeah, I'm like, cool, let's stand up.
So wait a minute. I think I need to wrap my head around this. So was this after the sex you had to stand up, or was it if you had sex while you're standing up, you can't get pregnant?
Well, he was like, we were just like getting into it, or just like kind of like talking. I was like, maybe 14, probably like 13. And I think he was like, we were like talking about, doing it, whatever. And he's like, and I was just like, I just want to be, it's kind of safe. And he was like, well, if we stand up, you'll be fine. And like, and I was like, cool, fine, down. Ask no questions. I was like, cool. Your word is as good as anything else ever. So it was before and then during we did it. There was nowhere to sit anyway, because it was like,
because you're teenagers having sex and you got to do it in weird places.
For sure.
Oh my God.
That's so crazy.
One of the funniest lies I think I've ever heard about sex.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you stand. And where the fuck did he learn that from?
I'm so
curious. Or
curious.
did he make it up? And it's amazing how much as women we just believe men.
I know.
We're just like, sure.
For sure.
That sounds good.
Yeah. You're a man. Like, that sounds like you would get your resources from somewhere good, right?
Surely you know what you're talking about.
Right.
Wow. That's one of the biggest heists. Scams?
For sure.
That's a scam.
That's a scam.
That's a straight up scam.
It was definitely a scam. Oh my God.
Especially when it comes to sex. I'm sorry. I love you, men. I do. That's why I'm here. I mean, both actually, because my mom loved men, but
yeah. Good job.
But really, there's a lot of unlearning that we all need to do.
For sure.
Oh, that's wild. So
yeah.
At what point do you think you learn you could get pregnant even when you stand?
That's a good question. I don't think it was like immediately after, but I also don't think I was like a big fan of standing. And so and, like that's what I was more worried about. I was like, standing's uncomfortable.
I love this conversation so much.
It's so wild.
Standing does suck. I mean, like it has its time when you're fucking, but like also
gotta
lay down.
For sure. Bitch is tired.
Yeah,
I honest to God don't think it was like till years later I like talked about it again, but it wasn't like that wasn't like the height of the conversation was that I had sex, it wasn't that like I had sex standing up. That was like the least of the worries was that it was standing up.
The logistics were just lost.
Right. I was like, I'm in. I'm not a virgin anymore. Like, what's good? And then, I remember this. I remember I was like, because like I remember talking to a few people, like everyone's like having sex and stuff, or like like the volleyball team and stuff like that. And so when I had sex, I told everyone, I was like, gang, what's up? I had sex, and everyone was like, what? You're a slut. You did what?
Yeah.
You're a super slut. I was like, wait. I thought we all was gonna fuck like other people and then like talk about it. And then everyone was like, oh my God, you fucked. Like, I'm like, wait, what? And they were like, yeah, I know. It was with my boyfriend. I love him. I was like, what? You didn't tell me this. And so then I was like this girl that had sex. So I was like this awful person or whatever. And then I had like two roads I was gonna choose, either like just keep doing it or
lock it up.
Yeah. Get a chastity belt or some shit.
We open or close for business. Which one gonna be? Because there's no in between when you're that age.
Right. So I just like didn't talk. Like I think that's what closed me off about talking about it or like really learning about it and stuff. All I really knew is you could get an STD and it would ruin your life and you would die, or like something like tragic, something awful or whatever. And then like or get pregnant or not if you're standing up. Those are literally the only things I really knew. Like I was just like, okay.
Yeah. Such limited information for us to go off of, and the slut shaming is so real. It's so real because, and then there's this thing when we were growing up that like, if you didn't, you were missing out on something. But then as soon as you did, you're a fucking whore.
Exactly.
And like everyone's going to talk shit about you and you have herpes and you have this, which like herpes is not a big deal. It's nothing.
Right.
So, like we have all of these things that are perpetuated by purity culture. It's all purity culture. That's it.
For sure.
Like it's not rooted in truth. It's not rooted in reality. And there's so much, it's like keeping up with the Joneses. But once you are with the Joneses, then like, oh, you nasty.
Right. No, for real. Literally. It was literally that. Absolutely. I just, like the details as opposed to like, and talking to a partner and like talking about it. Like I never learned that. I honest to God, don't think I learned that until after high school. Like really how to, and then they would show you like pictures of like herpes and like just different STDs that were really bad as opposed to like the worst case, as opposed to showing like, hey, here's some like some symptoms or like different things that could happen or ways to talk to somebody about like the amount of time it could be until you can like develop, you know what I mean? Because it's a
Yeah.
long time till like some of these like STDs and these things happen, you know? So it's like, oh yeah, who'd you have sex with last night? Oh, nobody, cool, we're good, you know, as opposed to like who could be a risk.
What was 3 weeks ago? What was a month ago? Have you been tested after that? Did you wait the 3-week period? I mean, I only learned about the 3-week gestation period when I became a sex educator.
That is wild.
It's fucking wild. And I don't know how many other people actually even know about that, but like
that is so wild.
Viruses take time. I mean, now we're in COVID, so hopefully people like have a little bit of knowledge, but nobody learns shit. Let's be honest. Because also when COVID was first hitting, I was like, well, you know, if we were all properly educated in sexuality, we would all really understand this whole testing and gestation and transmission and protection and barriers. Like it's all the same shit.
Right.
It's all the same shit. You're just covering a different part of your body.
For sure.
But yeah, the gestation period and how to test and when to test. And the number one symptom of STIs is no symptom at all. It's like 60% are asymptomatic.
Wow.
So for you to be like, oh, I don't have any bumps. Like I feel fine. I'm good. Bitch, you don't know that.
Wow.
You've been tested? You don't know that?
You know what? You just summed up my whole childhood. Thank you so much. Where were you at the party at Damien's in the backyard?
Girl, I wasn't knowing shit. I was fucking around with some asshole getting fingered or something. Like the worst way.
Right. Just
rolling around in some grass, being like, this feels good.
Yeah. I think I like this. I don't know.
I'm supposed to, so I guess it's cool. This seems fine. Everything is fine.
Right.
It's fine.
That is wild. I just, like I knew what you said, but I didn't. Like, and how you just said it just summed up a lot. I
mean, that's kind of, that's like what this show is like, there's so much that there's so much in sexuality that when you hear it, you're like, oh, I should know that.
For sure.
Do I know that? I don't think I know that.
Yeah.
No, I don't know that. I should know that.
Yeah.
Like that's like all of sexuality.
Right.
And it's a changing science. I mean, we're consistently learning about sexuality and the human body and pleasure and all of these different ways and the tie between psychology and pleasure and mind-body connections. Like, I mean, it's a science just like anything else. So we're going to be studying it forever and learning forever. But there's some real basic shit that we don't know.
Wow.
Like even with STIs, if you get tested, you're only getting tested for 3 things: gonorrhea, syphilis, and chlamydia. That's it. So you have to ask for a full panel in order to get like everything tested. And that's not going to include herpes and it's not going to include HIV. So those are all separate
like
tests.
The swab of the mouth and stuff too?
It's the swab and the blood. No, it's the blood and urine. But that's still only going to be for 3, but you have to ask to get tested for everything else. And then they'll give you there's 10 different things that you can get tested for.
Wow. So they don't necessarily offer. You have to know.
You got to know to ask. Yeah. Because otherwise it's just going to be those big 3, the big 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's so much that's missing when it comes to STIs.
Yeah.
And then again, like, what we both learned was all fear mongering, and it's the worst case scenarios. And it's like, your vulva is going to be blown up into smithereens and you're going to be peeing gray. And
oh my God.
The smell is going to be that of 1,000 pirates who haven't showered in decades. Like, what?
Jesus.
That shit is way more subtle than that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, damn. Thank you for that. I had a panel recently at an LGBT center off of Martin Luther King Boulevard, and they paid me to get a panel.
Really?
I knew about it because a friend, I was interested in getting one anyway. It was a partner I was with, requested it, and then my friend was like, "Oh yeah, for sure. And if you come on this day, you get a $25 gift card, and we'll do like a full panel." And it was so nice because they went over everything. But I think that was part of the program. Like, we're gonna pay you to learn this, which is wild. That's where we're at, where we have to pay someone. I mean, like, thank you so much. And
we will be linking it in the show notes for sure. I'll put a link to the LGBTQIA. I just fucked up those letters.
There's
so many letters now.
Yeah. You said it really fast. I have to say it so fucking slow. I'm like, oh God.
Well, you know what? I actually wind up saying it really quickly to because it's overwhelming, I think, for people that are not as close to it to have, because also it's now 2S LGBTQIA plus.
Okay.
So the 2S is for Two Spirit, which is for our indigenous brothers and sisters. And that's, Two Spirit is part of their culture. I don't know enough yet to speak on it specifically, but that's why we add the 2S in there. So sometimes you'll see that, sometimes you won't see that, but that is something that we're trying to kind of bring into the forefront and honor as well.
Okay.
So
I got this.
There's just so many letters.
Is it 2, like the number 2?
The number 2.
And then S.
S LGBTQIA plus.
That checks.
So many. I feel like
this.
we gotta, there, and I love the inclusivity.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's overwhelming, even for people who are within the umbrella of all of that.
For sure.
But also everyone needs and wants to be represented, which is also valid and fair, and we should represent. So it's hard.
Right. I'm the Q, and that's kind of, and that's very Aries of me. I'll come for what I'm like, okay, where am I in this? Cool. I did my part. I'm like, cool, got it. But I love it. And I love that it's developing into this beautiful thing where everybody's like, because not hopefully get to a point where it's like, but what about this, or what, like what, but what about me, and what about this? You know what I mean? And it's kind of crazy to think that wasn't always included. And then you think about it, like, of course not. It was like 4 letters. So
I mean, we didn't even recognize lesbians up until a few years ago, like a couple of 2, maybe 3 decades ago, something like that. It was just like, you're straight or you're a gay man. That's it.
For sure.
No one else can play with each other or love each other or have pleasure in any other way, because there has to be a penis.
Exactly. Right. Like the girls were just going through a phase or something.
Yeah.
That's all it was. So
yeah, as if not wanting anything to do with a penis is a phase.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
People love people.
Yeah.
They're attracted to different people and things, or no one at all. And that's okay too. All of these things are valid. And I am glad that we're recognizing all of these things. And it is, I get that it's hard for people that don't identify with anything under the umbrella, because I think they're like, I don't understand all these letters. What is it for? Which is why it's really important that we do keep talking about it. And then we do just keep saying, listen, if you're not straight, then there is, when you don't belong anywhere, that can be so detrimental to your emotional, mental, and eventually physical health.
Yes.
That's why it's so important that we do recognize all of the different letters and all the different iterations. And the more that we learn about sexuality and the more that we learn about human nature, the more it's like, yeah, you're valid. You like, it's important for people to be able to identify something so that they feel like they're part of something, because we're all a part of humanity.
Right.
Like, let's have alphabet soup. It's great. It's delicious.
Right.
We love it all.
Right.
We love all you babies. But it's interesting.
Let's have alphabet soup.
Alphabet soup. It's interesting because and this is just like a me thing here. So by definition, I'm queer, but I don't necessarily identify as queer because I'm like not queer enough to take that away from someone else, which a lot of people do experience and struggle with. So it's really interesting. And let's be honest, there's a lot of gatekeeping too, being like, well, you're not this and you're not that, but that's within any community, you're going to find that. So that's like another interesting twist on all of the letters and identifications and everything like that. And I think it's Nicole Byer that talks about that as well, that she's like, I'm queer, but I don't want to use that name because I don't want to take it away from somebody else, which I think is also valid. So it's really interesting. The more like we dig into the psychology of belonging and being seen and heard and identifying. And I think some people, like, I'm like, I don't know, man, don't put me in a box.
For sure.
I'm like, don't call me anything.
Right. I was saying, I'm like, I know it when I see it, and I know what I want when I see it or whatever. And I think identifying as queer has been the most like comfortable place I've been in, because like I was like kind of always assumed to be a lesbian when I like came out or whatever, but I was like, oh no, I just and then I told the lesbian community that I slept with this man, and then it was like I was like, oh, but like I'm gay, and they're like, oh yeah, but you had sex with this dude. I'm like, yeah, but like I'm not like anti something or this or whatever. And who knows if I want to sleep with a trans man or trans woman or whatever. Like I just like, as like being queer, I feel like it just has me in like this safe box, although I would feel more comfortable just being like, I'm gay, you know. And but then
you could be
people,
both. Like you are both.
for sure,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
I get that though, because I feel like I feel like when I say I'm straight, it's a lie.
Yeah.
Like similar to,
Wow.
I'm Israeli and Scottish. So like my mom is white, but my dad is very dark.
Yeah.
He's Yemenite. And I grew up like way darker than I am. And so like I've never identified with being white. So if I'm like checking off boxes, I'm like, I can't say white. I don't feel like I can't claim, like it's weird because I can't really claim anything else. I mean, I can. Now they have Middle Eastern on boxes.
Okay.
That I love. I love now seeing Middle Eastern because I'm like, finally, I can claim something.
Right.
Because then I feel more comfortable being like Middle Eastern and white.
Right.
There we go.
For
I
sure.
can say I'm white. That's fine. But that's not completely who I am. And that's not really what I identify with. So it's really interesting when we are straddling these identities, how these not blanket terms, because queer is a blanket term. It is and it's not.
Yeah.
But how having something that is a little bit more broad really supports us in being like, you know, I don't fit into a box.
Yeah.
I like a circle.
For sure.
I like to flow. I'm a cloud.
For sure.
I'm a sexy little cloud, fucking whom I wish when I wish, because I like them.
Yeah. Period.
Yeah. Period.
I'm a cloud.
I'm a cloud. Bitch, I'm a cloud. Cloud fucking should not be mistaken with clown fucking, which is a different fetish.
Wow. I'm learning so much.
I know. It took a weird turn. Welcome to my podcast. We take weird turns.
Yes. The only turn to take.
Yeah. So how old were you when you left Arizona and you moved to New York? Because boy, that's a culture shift.
Definitely. Well, I had lived, I grew up in foster care. So I like kind of like was on and off there because this was where my mom was, and I was going to either live with my grandpa. And then my mom was in Arizona at the time, unexpectedly. So and I got adopted in Arizona. So I was like staying out there. And then I had lived with my auntie and stuff. And so like kind of like different family members and like raising with different people. And then a lot of it was kind of too like me, I'm looking back as a kid, kind of finding the route of where I wanted to live and using the terms, like using like a different family member that could suit me at the time better for each purpose in my life. For instance, like New York summers are the worst and I hate them so much. So then that's where Arizona would come into play, which is crazy. That's how much I hate New York summers, is because like the hotness of the New York summer and going to Arizona, like that's how fucked up I hate New York summers. Is I would go to Arizona, like another worst, like awful summer. But like, that's how, just like being compact in there and just being like, I just didn't feel
hot shit and hot garbage,
and
hot piss. Like, oh,
everybody,
the smells are so bad. New York summer smells are so bad.
So bad.
No one, you
the
can't.
Energy. You agree, babe?
Hi, Ruby.
Do you agree? Oh, you're a bad bitch.
She has yet to come up on the. No, you're. She likes to go out there. This is not.
I love that she thought she was sneaky.
You're not.
Like, let me just bed down more. Maybe no one will see me. You're a little kitty. You're a little kitty.
It's so funny how animals like sneak away from you. They just like crouch really low. Like, bitch, there ain't no trees here. I can see.
Hello.
You're not. You don't want to be on camera.
Cute. That was very cute. Yeah, I think she agrees that New York summers.
Yeah, it's
suck.
bad.
So I was kind of all over, but that's just an example. I don't think I was. I think maybe once or twice I got to pull that move. Like, okay, cool. Can I enjoy a summer in Arizona and stuff? And I was acting as a little girl in like different theaters and whatnot. And so even out there, once I found a theater program to go out in Arizona, I was like, it's a wrap. I can kind of do this wherever. Well, like I played more sports in Arizona because it's just kind of expected and more people kind of come out to see that. So I was like, where can I get the most attention at, you know? So I would say off and on, it's a good question. Off and on, I was like kind of all over, but I went to college in Arizona and that's where I got my BFA. And then I went to New York shortly after. So I would say that's kind of the most adult-ish time I was in New York, was leaving college and then going there. The rest was like all just like childhood, off and on, kind of like everywhere.
Yeah. And so that it culturally it's just so different. Like
Mhm.
just Arizona versus New York. I grew up in New York as well. I didn't grow up in Brooklyn, but I grew up in New York. So like
Yeah.
that's my perspective as well, and education and all of that. Ruby, oh, she's trying to get up to her food. she's gonna fuck with that camera. It happens every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know why. Um,
Will
she
she
could
make
she
it?
could I wish I could turn she did it. Everything is fine.
Everything's fine.
There was no water knocked over this time.
Yeah. It's always when you say your animal's gonna do something insane and then they
Then they
don't.
don't. So we're good. I'm probably the one that's going to do something more insane because I am a klutz. So with the Arizona people, do you feel like you got a lot of like is it a lot of purity culture there?
Explain that.
Like is there a lot of like Jesus people and
Yes,
like
different sorts.
chastity and
Yeah, so I feel like Arizona was that's the first time I ever was introduced to like Mormonism.
mm,
There's the whole like a lot of like good like big Mormon um group, I guess you could say. There's like
mhm.
different cities and stuff, and then like you would know that as somebody that was in Arizona that smokes weed. If you are going to smoke weed, there's like a certain city that like, oh, like those the cops, they're Mormon cops, don't fuck with them,
Oh
that kind of
yeah.
vibe. I also lived there around the time where they were just like pulling people over for just being brown and being like
Yeah.
dark skin, and like that was like a proposition and stuff. And then different like gay rights and stuff like that, it was always kind of going through there and whatnot. I think that honestly that having sex and doing drugs, I'll say, let's just keep it to sex, I don't know, I'm just assuming,
Sure.
but it's kind of like the only thing to kind of do, in the sense of like, in the sense of just kind of being stuck in this place or whatever. Everyone had kids at like after like 21,
Yeah.
22, I mean, also, kids, there's kids and like people having kids and stuff in high school, but
Sure.
like at an age you're expected to have kids, and like everyone, I mean, it was like getting married, or if that, but just had kids at like 21, 22, like
Mm.
fresh out of college, wasn't happy, hadn't even explored half this shit I'm finding out about my sexuality at like after 30. I just feel so bad because I'm like, actually, I don't give a fuck, but I feel bad for the podcast. I feel bad that they never got to explore this because I'm finding out so much about myself after 30 that, because there's times too where I was like, fuck, I need to have a kid. I need to have this thing. I need to be
Ugh.
locked down and all these things, because it's just like, well, that was what was around. That's what was, that was what's like expected. And like in towns like that, people are just stuck. There's nothing else to do like
Mhm.
besides do that. I will say I have a wonderful friends that have like, family and like really good shit, but that also like at 21 and 22, there was no one like really knew how to like, um, exasperate like their sexuality, because it was just like, oh cool, well I'm just gonna go with this man that I was in high school with and marry him, and we'll see what happens and stuff. And they're like, I see all their posts now, they're just so upset. I just know that's because they've been locked down at such a young age, and there's so many things. And like some of the gay boys, some of the gay boys in high school are straight now. Some of the straight people are like gay, which is great and wonderful, but like they were never able to um just go out and be free and like and do that and whatnot. And then also, are they straight or are they gay? It's like they're whatever, they're
They're whatever,
everything, they're
yeah.
not,
Again,
it's
it
like,
comes back to like putting in a box, right?
right,
Like it- being bi is such a great example of that. Like
yeah,
you can be bi and be married to someone who is the opposite sex of you,
mm-hmm,
and that doesn't make you any less bi. You're
right,
still attracted to people who are the same sex as well.
yeah,
Sexuality is so fluid, and especially when we have those expectations that it's like you get up, you grow up, you get married, you have the baby, you do all of this before you turn 25,
right,
and that's it, and that's your life. There's no room for exploration and play, and sex is play. It's
right,
literally play. That's why they're
right,
called play parties,
yes,
because you're literally just playing and exploring and having fun. And it's so sad when people don't have the opportunity to do that. And the older we get, the more you're like, damn,
mm-hmm,
22 is a fucking baby. You're a
right,
child at 22 still.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, okay, you're like a little adult, cute, cute, but like, you don't know anything. You're like just out of your mother's bosom.
right,
It's so young. And to be having babies and getting married and doing all these things and like defining your life at 22 and 23 years old, 21 years old.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I remember that pressure too. I was in Florida when I was that age. So
Oh yeah.
it was, but you know what? It's actually like my New York friends that were all getting married and stuff like that. But like, they're divorced.
Right.
They're like almost all divorced.
Right.
So, because you're a baby, you don't have shit.
You don't have shit. Yeah, same. They're all divorced or just like not happy. They're not doing well.
It's sad. It's a real bummer. I hope that we're changing that. I hope that we're creating more space for the youngins. And I think we are. I think that they are a lot more emotionally intelligent because all they've known is trauma.
Definitely.
You know?
Yeah.
But I hope, and I think that, I mean, I'm seeing way more fluidity within the younger kids in terms of gender expression, gender, sexuality, all those things. So I hope that we're moving away from that because boy, that's tough.
It's tough. I think it is. Even like, that's why I just like don't downplay any like the TikTok or the YouTube videos or whatever, because some of the TikTok videos will give me some more information than I've ever had in my life. I'm not a TikToker, but I'll get stuff sent to me where I'm like, oh my God, you just said 30 seconds of my life. I'm like, oh my God, I was like, oh my God, that's why I act like that. You know, like that's why I enjoy that thing, you know, or I'm like, it just opens up little things because, as opposed to like a book and like a year of this like class, you know, your teacher doesn't give a fuck about you. I've learned like what, like a video, someone doing nothing, and it'll have like the words or something like this, and they'll be like, well, your trauma response is basically like something like this, or you know what I mean, or like something like that, or like a YouTube video or podcast, or just like things like this. I think the way the world is moving, I think that YouTube University, I'll call it, TikTok University and Podcast University has really like heightened, and just being able to talk about it. Like I didn't really start talking about it until I was like, you know, like older. And so now I'm like, I just was holding on these things for just guessing, like, oh, I didn't know these different things or these different sex acts or something like that. Or it's like people would ask different positions, like, oh, what's your favorite position or whatever. I didn't know many of them. Like I was like, I just like to fuck. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you know, and then just like talking about it and like learning about it, or asking someone to be like, oh yeah, like I did this or whatever, like what is that, and just having the comfortability of like asking and knowing. So like, yeah, these kids are learning, like, or I think are going to be like have like a better base than we did, just by like, I think honestly social media and like things like this can come, you know, good of it, but also us and me too. I'm like, I'm learning with you. I'm like right there behind. Like I had no idea. Like it's just 2020 when the lockdown happened. I was like, you just like had that. I was like, what the fuck? Like what? So like we're talking about asymptomatic, like that term. I had never heard that term in my life until that came down. Like that's ridiculous. And just like and just passing stuff and just like the cleanliness of some stuff I hadn't learned and whatnot, especially for sex. So
because we out here learning algebra,
right? What the fuck?
Which we don't use.
Obtuse angles.
I don't fucking care about an obtuse angle unless formula. It's how you fucking me,
right?
That's when I care about angles.
You gotta clip that. That's your clip right there. That's your trailer clip.
Ask and you shall receive. Sure. Even though this episode is about you, so that's gonna be you telling me to use that clip.
Yeah, perfect. So good. It's so good.
Obtuse angles. That might. There we go. That's the name of your podcast.
There episode. It is. Yeah.
Oh my God. But it's so true. Like there's so much that we're learning as adults, and it's great. And I want us to keep learning, and I want us to keep talking about it because I'm sitting here talking about it. But I think that's also why this topic became so fascinating for me to talk to different people about their experience with sex education, because all of us were so deprived.
Right.
We're so deprived of factual information. I interviewed someone not that long ago, Eli Olsberg, and he grew up in Florida in between two different presidencies. One was Clinton and one was Bush. And Clinton was obviously far more open to accurate sex education, even though he got Jocelyn Elders fired for saying that we should teach kids masturbation, which we should, because that would prevent the transmission of STIs, because if they learned about themselves and their bodies and they're spending time with themselves and they're not going to be with others, yada, yada.
Right.
Anyway, like it's a natural part of sexuality. So she felt that we should be teaching it, which we should. And, you know, about
And she
so
got
much.
fired.
Yeah. She had like a forced resignation, basically.
Oh my God.
It was real fucked up. She did really great work in terms of pushing sexuality forward and accurate sex education. And she was punished for it. Of course, she was a Black woman too.
Wow.
So like no one is fucking surprised there.
Right.
That's a whole other episode.
Oh my God.
But then, so he went from that to George W. Bush, where it was abstinence only. So it's such an interesting topic for us as adults that we are like, we're so much more knowledgeable now. And I would say even just those of us that are this age in the last 5 to 10 years, we're much more knowledgeable than we ever were in any points in our life. And all of us were deprived of accurate sex education in different ways. And it's so interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that story. Maybe I did, but damn.
Yeah.
That's upsetting.
It is very upsetting.
What way did she like broadcast that? Was that like on like a interview or something?
It was at a UN conference. So she was being interviewed at a UN conference and she said, you know, I think masturbation is a natural part of sexuality and that we should be teaching it. And, you know, it's basically, that was the crux of the quote. And that ultimately led to her demise, probably because there was so much pressure against that because purity culture and bullshit and, you know, all of that. But like, she was right. And we should be teaching masturbation. We should not be teaching people to be afraid of their own bodies. Because how can you possibly communicate what you want or what you like if you don't know?
Exactly.
Just like what you were saying with like, you know, you're like, I don't have words for this. I don't know. Like, teach me. Tell me the thing. What do I need to? I don't know. I just like to fuck.
Right.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That part. Wild. Okay. Well, cheers to her. And
cheers to Jocelyn Elders.
Yeah.
My water is away from me because I am a danger to myself and this equipment.
That's fair. When I'm DJing, I don't have water out or whatever. Like I'm like, no, I need a water cup. Like when they bring me back a cup or whatever, I'm very bougie with it because I
need a lid.
Yeah, give me a lid. Sorry.
Yeah. So when you were in New York, what, if anything, do you feel like was different there in terms of sexuality?
In terms of like learning about it or just like
learning, talking culturally?
I think in New York it's so quick that you're just kind of expected to know. But I'm trying to think. You know, I remember a pregnant girl walking around at school, and that was kind of like, it was so shunned upon because we weren't supposed, you know, and there's a classroom where like people in school had kids, like their babies there, like a classroom, like a like a teacher in like a program where you know the kids
they can learn but with their babies present because childcare.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's great.
And so they had, I do remember that. And then I think some people, also teachers that had kids and stuff, like kids were there or whatever. And I do remember like walking around with this bag of flour that was supposed to be a baby.
Yeah.
And if it was dented or like they would look at it and see like you had it all, you had to like, and everyone would have it at certain parties and stuff like that. And like it was like, you know, the funny thing or the cool thing or whatever, we would toss it around and shit like that. It was like no one was really, you know. So it was always the after effect. It was always like, oh, like this person did this and this is like their punishment. It was never like how it led to that and like these sexual desires that you were gonna have and these things or even how to like help this girl that was 16 and having a baby or whatever, and different things and different programs that she could get in. I'm learning so much too. I don't know how it is in like a hetero world, but like in the LGBT center and stuff like that for like kids that are having babies and stuff like that early on, and like different opportunities and different like things and different like scholarships and different programs they can get and like, you know, different things. But like back then it was kind of just like only after the after effect, like, oh, here's a pregnant girl and whatnot. And you know, it was shunned upon. But like when she entered the room or whatever, everyone was like super nice. Or like, oh, I want to touch your babe. I'll touch the belly. I want to hear it. I want to do these things or whatever. But it wasn't like, you know, what happened to it after. And I'm like really wondering that. I really feel like if there was something really distinct, I'd be able to tell you. But it must not been because I'm kind of like, can't really remember where I learned that or where this or who said that or whatever. And it wasn't really until I was like, I would say like 17 or 18, I was interested in exploring like my sexuality and like women or whatever. I think I was always into it. Looking back at it, I was like, oh, that's why I love that teacher so much. It's because she was so fine. I was like, that's why I love that
Fair.
class.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I'm gonna pay attention to anything you say.
It's like, the transition of it to me, like in sexuality and stuff too, was um it was like I was having sex or just like with these boys and stuff, and I was just like bored in the sense of like I was so bored and I was so sad because it would be boys that I loved and I thought they were so hot and so cute, but then I was just like it wasn't connecting. Then somebody told me something about being asexual and that freaked me out
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, oh my God, I don't know. And then I didn't know their way of telling me it freaked me out because their way was like, well, it means you don't like sex or something like that. Like that was like the terminology, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
like, and wasn't even, they weren't enlightened on that, but they were still enlightening me on this term I never heard. So then I thought I was that, and I was so sad. I was freaked out. I was like, oh my God, because I like enjoy this and I feel something, but I don't know, whatever. Like I didn't know, and I kept it in me, but I was like that. I was like, if there's a girl that I like and enjoy, I'm gonna act on it whenever I see it and whenever I can. Any party, I would tell my friends to like dare me to like kiss girls and stuff like that or whatever or whatnot. And that was the closest I got. But my education in New York, I was just like pregnant girls are pregnant and they fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know?
I definitely feel that as well. That it was a lot of the extreme of the STIs and
Yeah.
pregnant girls fucked up. Never about the boys. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
really ever
yeah.
remember learning the boy fucked up.
Right.
He should not have come in her. I
Right.
don't ever remember hearing that ever. Full stop.
Right.
It's always, well, she fucked up her life.
Mhm.
She went and got pregnant. She got knocked up. She, shame, shame, shame.
Exactly.
What the fuck?
Wow.
As
What
if
the fuck?
we can, I mean, I guess you can inject yourself with cum.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Right.
like, what the fuck?
As if that was the mistake. Like,
Yeah.
as if, yeah.
Yeah. As if it's completely on the person with the uterus
Yeah.
to control how and when cum comes into it.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
can't control that.
Yeah.
I can control if a penis comes into it, but I
Yeah.
can't control what that penis does because I don't know when he's going to come
Yeah.
or they're going to come.
Wow.
Yeah. It was always she fucked up.
No, man.
I think I'm even just realizing that.
I know. I'm like, yeah, I've never heard it.
Yeah. I don't,
terms.
yeah. It was never about the boys.
Mhm.
Maybe with the boys, it was about like your penis is going to get all fucked up. Like maybe it was the disease stuff,
Mhm.
but very heavy on shaming people with uteruses and vulvas.
Wow. Fuck that.
Girl, we learning here. Fuck that for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. It's a tad early, but I'm going to go into it because the pop quiz relates to that question. So
Amazing. Okay.
everybody gets a pop quiz.
Cool.
Pop quiz. How long can sperm live outside of the body?
Oh, outside of the body? Like
Outside
if
of the
it's like
body.
on a bed or like
Mhm.
in
Like just out in the world.
Sperm can live. I haven't said the word sperm in so long. Sperm can live outside of the body for 24 hours.
Nope. 15 to 30 minutes.
Whoa.
Yeah. So when people are donating sperm,
Yeah.
that's why all the movies are like, we gotta go. Because like you literally gotta go. Which makes for great comedy.
I was gonna say like 1 minute because I was like, but I was like, it has to be something insane if you're asking
Yeah,
for 24 hours or whatever. Wow.
Yeah.
That's why. So when you're doing like the tube and like all that stuff,
It's
so
all
rushed
pretty quick. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm sure, in order for it to last that long, it would have to be under like certain conditions and keeping it at a warm temperature. Like, you want to like coddle the babies.
Right.
But yeah, about 15 to 30 minutes, depending, of course, but that's the average length of time.
Wow.
Yeah. So what made me, I mean, that was the question anyway, but what made me just think about it was the turkey baster.
Oh my God.
Which is like, I mean, I guess people can get pregnant that way, but I feel like it's got to be very rare that shit works.
For sure.
Because again, where are you getting that come from?
For
He's
sure.
not, he's not coming in a cup.
Right.
Oh, I guess the condom. Like, but still, if it's got spermicide, it's going to kill it. But anyway,
Yeah. Right.
it's so much work.
Wow.
It's so much work.
Thank you for reminding me about the turkey baster.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I know you're going to use that trick.
I'm just in the middle of moving, so I just threw mine out. And so I was like,
God damn it.
Yeah.
I cannot falsely impregnate myself by an unknowing sperm donor.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, girl. Is there anything else when you were thinking about doing this podcast that came up for you?
Just in general, like getting older and just enjoying it so much more, and just the things I would say to myself to think, just like the just of why, like, just certain times I didn't enjoy it, or with who, or how I was expected, or I would just have this like the sexiest boy at the club, but in my bed, and how amazing it was, and then it wasn't, and I was like, it was always how upsetting it was to me, but it was just like I was just fucking to how I thought that person wanted to fuck, or like, and stuff like that. I'm like voicing my needs, and like getting older and just like wanting it more. And sometimes I wouldn't want it as much or whatever. Just was like, I am so happy that the development of me as older Bri and whatnot. And like when you asked me to do the podcast, I was like, wow, I'm like, because I had this realization like at the beginning of the year. I've thought about it, just turned 32. So like I've thought about it like when I was 30. When I turned 30, I was like, oh my God, everyone's talking about like how sexy you get and how sexy you feel or whatever. And I was like, in my 20s, I was like, no, I don't want to turn 30. There's no way. And then like when it happened, it kind of just like clicked. And sometimes it clicks like when you're having sex, and like sometimes it clicks like in the bed or whatever, and you're looking at these things or whatever, and just like all of these things just kind of like happen with sexuality. And it kind of goes based off what you said, of like we're still developing, we're still learning these things with sexuality, but I'm still learning these things with myself, when as to when I thought I was like 21 or even 18, like I had to know all these things, and like this is the final feeling. This is how it's gonna feel. Like, oh, this is how I'm getting fingered. I used to have this thing where like I was like, oh, fingers. I didn't really like being fingered, because I was like, fingers feel like fingers. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
they feel like fingers.
I'm like, it just feels like a fucking finger in me, and I'm like, but then I like had it with did it with like a partner, a certain person, and I was like, oh my God, like that wasn't that. It was like I just didn't enjoy that feeling in these like these people and these and this whatnot. So I just want to say, your podcast made me like have this conversation with myself and just literally be like, okay, you are sexy as fuck, and I enjoy this. Like I really deeply enjoy. I was like, am I doing a bit with myself? Like, cause I look in the mirror and I'm like, is this a bit? Like I truly enjoy myself at this like this age, and like the way my face has developed and stuff. And I look at old pictures, because like I used to look at old pictures and just be like, oh, you're like, why would you wear that? Where I'm like, I'm just really enjoying this thing that's that's happening, and you hear about it, and then it happens, and you're like, oh, that's what the fuck it is,
Yeah.
And I hope everyone gets to experience that. I hope it like, and I hope anyone listening gets to like feel that, and just know that you're not expected to have sex a certain way, and even if it's not enjoyable that way, there's different ways, and just like to voice that, and just to do that. And like not everybody needs to enjoy doggy style and whatnot. Not everyone needs to like enjoy getting finger fucked and whatnot. Just know that there's like, and that it all just like makes sense someday. And so yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
like,
no, I love
I hadn't
that.
said that out loud yet, so thank you.
Yeah. We love that. And I think one thing that you said in there is, you said it without saying it, is that our sexuality changes as we age.
Yeah.
Our bodies change as we age.
Yeah.
What we find pleasurable changes as we age.
Yeah.
Our vaginal lubrication changes as we age.
Yeah.
Our turn-ons and our breaks change as we age.
Right.
So the more we can embrace just being wherever we're at, and keeping that playful spirit and keeping that spirit of exploration alive, the more pleasure we're going to have.
For sure.
And the more pleasure we can find outside of sexual situations, like enjoying your face, like enjoying your space, like enjoying a glass of water.
Nice.
Just, whatever pleasure we can find in our life around us encourages us to find more pleasure in sexual situations as well. Because if you're having trouble finding pleasure in everyday life and all of these different situations around us, how can you possibly be expected to find pleasure in your body in this super messy, awkward situation, maybe with a stranger, maybe with someone that you've been with for 20 fucking years that you're really tired of, who is not going to put the fucking dishes away the right way and it drives you mad. Like, how are we? It doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Wow.
So I love that you brought up this beautiful experience of melting into it. You know?
Oh, I felt like I was at a slam poetry. Like I was like, you got to take. I'm like telling you all these things you got to take.
I love it.
Rewind that back, write it down, go to an open mic, and
yes, I will.
Lose their mind.
Bro, you want to be my manager?
For sure. Bro, getting booked. That was so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, melting for sure.
It is a melting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sex and pleasure is so much about release, and we hold so much tension, especially in our hips, especially as people with uteruses.
Yeah.
We hold tension in our hips. We hold it in our shoulders. We close off our hearts. We close off our core and our center bodies. And then all of a sudden we go into these sexual situations and we're like expected to be like open and free and fluid and fun. It's like, what the fuck?
Right.
What kind of a code switch is that?
Right.
I can't, it's not, we're humans.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I love that.
I love that. I love what you said. That was so beautiful.
No, same.
And
Thank
I think
you.
people needed to hear it. So
for sure.
That's great.
For sure.
Bri, where can people find you?
I'm going to say my website right now. My website is all my stuff is brigiger.com. So www.brigiger.com, BRIGIGER.com, my Instagram at brigiger.com, all of my things. And I'm going to direct everyone to my Instagram and my website. So yeah, thank you.
And you're all over town all the time.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to see Bri. She just hoeing all over town, being funny, fucking making panties drop for all the reasons.
For sure.
So this is going to air in June. I think it's going to be like the end of June.
I
don't know that you even book that far in advance because, things come up quick in the comedy world. But if you have anything coming up, is there anything that you want to plug?
I think Pride, anything Pride related and stuff, I'll just be out there. And like, I guess it's the end of June. I'm doing San Diego Pride, and then I'm doing New York Pride, and then LA Pride and all the prides and stuff. Cause no one wants to book anybody gay outside of June and July. Or Black History Month in June is when I get booked. And I used to be so like annoyed by that. But you know what? I'm going to run it up. I'm going to run all these straight people that are booking me and all these like non-POC people that book me outside, like not only in these months. I'm going to just run it up and charge
Make
them.
Your year in those fucking months.
I really
What
am.
about March? Do you get booked for Women's Month too? Or they forget about us?
A little bit, yeah. And it's my birthday. So I'm just like,
that's right.
Aries Queen. But a little bit, but more June and whatnot. So just if you're hearing this, just if you're looking for some gay shit to do, go to my website and I'll direct you, even if it's not from me. There's a lot of good gay stuff and gay resources because God forbid we have those outside of June.
God forbid. Could you imagine being gay in August, the month of my birth, the month of Leos, where everything should be big and sparkly and fun?
How do they do it?
I don't know. It's impossible. It's impossible.
I do love me a Leo, though. I do really love Leos.
Tell me more.
Yeah, no, Leo's the first like friendship connection I had where I was like, oh, wow. You just like listen and you're down and you're also like willing to like fuck a bitch up with me. So thank you.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, listen, Susie's my best friend. She's an Aries too. My dad is an Aries. That's chaotic.
Yeah.
No, my dad is the fucking best. I love him.
Cool.
I'm very much his daughter.
Nice.
I'm also very much not his daughter.
Yeah.
He can't, this man, let me tell you, my dad. When he was in the Israeli army, they would like be playing cards and playing poker and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And he did not want to learn poker because he never wanted to even come close to gambling, even if they weren't playing with money. He was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, for sure.
This man drinks 1 beer a year in the summer. I think he's getting better in his older age. Oh man, he's funny. So I'm very much his daughter, but not
very much not. Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
I am the black sheep of my family.
Yeah, same. Cheers.
Come on, let's talk about sex. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This was a delightful conversation.
What a treat.
If you like this podcast, You should like, subscribe, send it to a friend, leave me a 5-star rating. If you have a question that you want me to ask a guest, leave that in your 5-star rating. I'll shout you out and I will ask the question as long as it makes sense and it is a question that I can ask. I don't know. I think I did all the things. Yeah, I love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bri.
Oh, I love you too.
Bye.